Welcome children to part 2 of water resource lesson. We stopped with the primitive methods of irrigation. The previous slide was what are the different methods of irrigation. So the previous one was this one. Okay, so we are going into the well irrigation. For all the irrigation, we will be seeing the definition and the favorable conditions. Okay, for well irrigation, how is it defined? Wells are holes dug in the ground which are about 3 to 5 meters or more than that also. Okay, there is no specification of the depth over here. It can be more than this to obtain subsoil water. Okay, so wells are dug holes in the ground which are about 3 to 5 meters deep to obtain subsoil water. To have well irrigation, what are the favorable conditions required to have a well irrigation? Number one, we should have sufficient groundwater. That means in our initial part of this lesson we saw water table must be very high, and generally children, water table will be very high near the river basin area. So obviously to have well irrigation near river basin area or wherever we have perennial rivers or seasonal river also, we can have well irrigation. The next condition is soil must be soft, because we have to put drilling. If it's kind of a granite or volcanic kind of a rock, it becomes very tough to drill. So the soil must be soft and able to enable the digging of wells. Okay. Now this is one ancient way of extracting water manually. You can see in this picture how he takes through the pot. With the help of pot, a farmer is taking it out. In the next picture you can say how it's a kind of a vehicular chain pump. The bucket goes down in this vehicle in a circular format. It takes the water and pours out, then it goes to the agricultural field. And again here little manually it goes, they have a rope tied, the bucket goes down and takes, or here with the help of animal. So these are the different means of the extracting water from the field. Okay, and here in this picture also you can see how with the help of animals, domestic animals, the water here in the well is taken out. Okay, so he is just monitoring the water and the animal over here. Okay, so this actually in exam they will ask you only the definition part of it, but still we should know what are the different means of taking out of water, because generally well irrigation it's a lot of manual rather than mechanical or through technology we do it. So what are the advantages of well irrigation? Wells can be dug out at very low cost. Okay, so when we say very low cost, it's in comparison with other methods of irrigation. So generally as an individual if you take, it's yes, you have to pay. But when we say very low cost, we are comparing with the other means of irrigation, which is well within the means of a poor farmer. Then oxen which are kept for plowing the land can be utilized for drawing water. So the oxen is used for dual purpose, so they need not pay any extra cost. Okay, so this becomes your keyword. They can be dug at any convenient place. Imagine you have one big agricultural field, you need not get permission from anyone where to dig your well. You can dig at your convenience. Okay, so no permission is required from anyone where you have to dig well in your own ground. For well irrigation, the farmers do not pay to any agency. Okay, generally for canal irrigation and all, we have to pay, meter charge is there, water meter is there. But for well irrigation, because it's independent way of doing irrigation, the farmers need not pay any money to any agency. So all these are advantages of your well irrigation. Disadvantages, where it can, when you compare well irrigation with the other irrigation, it can only irrigate up to 1 to 8 hectares. Okay, or even if you need not mention here, you can just write in your exam, well can irrigate limited area only. Okay, wells may dry up. Okay, if we recklessly, without any proper, like we are not desilting it and other, and we're just using it with without any wiseness in it, then it may dry up. So during the drought, our groundwater levels may go down and we will not have water in the well. Well irrigation is not possible in areas of brackish groundwater. Brackish is kind of a alkaline water which generally we don't use for agriculture or not even for domestic purpose. So in those areas, well irrigation is of no useful. And well irrigation is time consuming. As you saw in the picture, it's like one bucket of water you keep pouring. Okay, so it's time consuming. So all these points come under disadvantages. Okay, moving on to the next part of it, the distribution. The major distribution area is UP, Bihar, Haryana and Punjab, which I marked in the map for you in a star, blue color star. And generally if you see this place, this is Indo-Gangetic Plain, children, where you have your longest river Ganga with its tributary and river Indus with its tributaries. So this is Indo-Gangetic Plain and basically a plain area. So that's very obvious that they'll have a good well irrigation over here. Okay, though we have Brahmaputra river over here, but it is undulated surface. Okay, you have a lot of mountains and hills over here. So that doesn't mean we don't have any, but major are these places. Okay, so major and other places, it's been marked over here. So this is how you will go. The next form of irrigation is inundation, or it is also called flooding type of irrigation system. Okay, now this is very simple, children. Actually, it is nothing but in a river during the flood time. Okay, if the river water overflows, okay, up more than its capacity, when it overflows, it flows into a direction where it finds its own pathway. So that becomes a canal, and that canal is called as a inundation canal or flooding type of irrigation system. Okay, so simple and easy. We are not constructing anything. Just due to overflow during rainy season, it flows in its own direction. That is called as inundation. So in which large quantities of water flowing in a river during flood is allowed to inundate the land to be cultivated, thereby saturating the soil. The excess water that is overflowing is then drained off and the land is used for cultivation. So it is also common in areas near the river deltas where the slope of the river and the land is small. So very simple and easy. It's just overflowing of water. You can just see it's one river or a canal and it overflows or it goes off. It's a simple example trying to explain you out. Here you can see it's a flooding. From the canal water, it has gone into the agricultural field. It has just overflown. Okay, so inundation is also called as a flood irrigation. Okay, and advantages of inundation canal, they are operational without any cost. As we saw, nothing was constructed by us. It's just overflow of water. So whichever way it overflowing, it's just going on. They also have advantage of depositing silt because it's from the river, it's slow flowing. Alluvium, it will deposit. So thereby the agricultural land where the water is going to flow, which will get naturally fertilized. Okay, fertility level will be increased. So these are the two advantages. Disadvantages: use the excess of water for rivers at the time of floods and remain operational only during rainy season. So other season we can't expect this water is coming out or pouring out, or it is depositing silt and other things. No system of regulating the flow of water such as lock gates and wells. So we don't determine the path of the water. The water itself determines its path because wherever it overflows, it follows its own pathway. So maybe for that pathway we don't need water, but the water is overflowing. Okay, so again there is no system of control over there, and only lowland areas can be irrigated because obviously the water will flow from higher area to lower area only. So only the land which is at the lower level will get irrigated. The higher level land will not get irrigated. So when we learn, children always learn for one system when we talk on. Like I started with well irrigation, where I started with definition, then favorable condition. Then I moved on to the picture. Okay. Then advantages, then disadvantages of well irrigation, then the distribution, likewise indentation canal. Okay, the definition part, then the advantage, then the disadvantage. Okay, here we are not doing distribution for indentation canal because the rivers which is getting flooded only will have indentation canal. Okay, so mostly it's perennial river, no other rivers. Moving on to the third primitive type of irrigation is tank irrigation. The first primitive type was well irrigation, second was indentation canal, and the third primitive method is tank irrigation. This tank is not the tank which we construct above our houses. This tank irrigation is a different tank irrigation, children. Okay, so try to understand the tank from geographical perspective, not from the tank which is above our apartments or our own houses. Tank is generally a hollow area, okay, a hollow or a natural depression on the ground where rainwater gets collected. It's a natural depression. So natural depression, where do we find in India? In the peninsular plateau area. So next slide you will be seeing that. Tanks can also be constructed by building an earthen or masonry wall. Imagine there is a natural depression which is little shallow. We try to create a wall around the depression which will elevate the depth. Okay, so just we are giving the supporting wall so that the water gets stored more, or a masonry wall across a valley type of a depression to impound rainwater. Okay, so that's a definition. What are the suitable factors? Now generally tank irrigation is found in Deccan Plateau. Okay, why in Deccan Plateau? Because it's uneven terrain or topography or the land uneven. Okay, they are not plain, they are up, they have ups and downs. So those downs are the area for collection of rainwater. A large area of Deccan Plateau has hard and non-porous rock. Hard and non-porous is important, children, which will not allow the water to penetrate or seep through. So that means it will hold on. The rocks will hold on. Remember that. So we need hard and non-porous. So these are keywords. This does not provide seepage of groundwater. So this is condition necessary for it. You can just see an example over here. It's a peninsula pet. You can see some rocks over here. Here now, this is elevated one village where the depression they have tried to make little manual work and they have created the side walls for it. Okay, so this is one of the Deccan Plateau area also. So walls are built around it, or sometimes the natural depression they construct, or they just leave also so that they can have that extra water. Advantages of tank irrigation. We have four advantages for tank irrigation. It allows monsoon water to be stored and to be used in the dry periods. Number one, it is cheaper. Again, because it's a natural depression, only the side walls we are going to construct. So it's cheaper. It stores monsoon water which otherwise would run waste. So the water which just going to go waste, we are collecting it. So again, it's advantage. Not only irrigation, but also in many villages, tanks form the source of water for domestic purpose. The village people use that water for their own household purpose also. So that was advantage. Disadvantage of tank irrigation. Since tanks are large open space where rainwater is stored, much of the water gets lost through evaporation. Yes, because it's open, so evaporation takes place. Most of these tanks, being shallow, get dried in summer. Thus, they are non-perennial. That means all throughout the year we don't have water. Irrigating far off places. Imagine tank is one place and your agriculture land is another place. So it becomes difficult and expensive to transfer that water. And due to stagnation of water, again siltation takes place and regular desilting is needed to ensure the storage of more water. Now in India, okay, this is Deccan Plateau area or Peninsular India. Here we have a lot of natural depressions, and the states which cover generally it's towards the east: Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha. Here we have lot of tank irrigation. Okay, here we have lot of tank irrigation. So under primitive method, three methods: well irrigation, inundation canal, and tank irrigation. Our next topic is modern methods of irrigation. So under modern methods of irrigation, we'll be learning sprinkler and drip irrigation, perennial canals, and the tube wells. Okay, children. So we will meet in next video for this particular learning. So in the next video, we will be learning about modern methods of irrigation. Thank you, children.